You will be using this interactive to complete the worksheet assigned for today. The interactive has both an analog and a digital clock, as well as some buttons which are located below the digital clock. This video will show you how to use the interactive to practice measuring angles. Let's examine the analog clock first. An analog clock uses numbers, a clock face, and 2 or sometimes 3 hands to tell the hour and minutes past or before the hour. The numbers around the edge of the clock face on an analog clock begin with 1 and increase in value as we move around the clock to the right until we get to 12. The analog clock uses a short hand to tell the hour and a longer hand to tell the minutes after or before the hour. You can move the hands by clicking and dragging on the circle located at the end of either hand. Notice that you can change the time more quickly by moving the hour hand. Notice also that the digital clock will display the same time as the analog clock as you change that time on the analog clock. Both the minute hand and the hour hand on the analog clock move in the same direction. That direction is also called clockwise. Both the minute hand and the hour hand share a common endpoint, right here. If we think of this endpoint as the vertex of an angle, we can easily see how the hour hand and the minute hand form an angle. Let's turn our attention to the digital clock. The digital clock uses numbers to tell time like an analog clock does, but it doesn't have the clock face or the clock hands. Notice that both the digital and analog clock tell the same time. Most people find it easier to tell time using the digital clock than the analog clock. Locate the Mode button located below the digital clock. Click on the gray button that says Time and notice that a drop-down menu appears. Choose Angles from the menu. Notice that all the buttons are blue except for the Arc button. If I click on the Arc button, notice that the red arc disappears and the Arc button has turned blue. In order to make the interactive ready for measuring its angles of the two hands of the clock, I'm going to click Snap Mins, Thin Hands, and Auto. Now I'll click on the Protractor button and I notice that a protractor has popped up. Although it's not aligned, neither of the hands are aligned with the 0-180 line or arm of the protractor. Move the hands of the clock forward until you get to 8 o'clock. It's going to be easier when you get close to use the minute hand because it's not quite as fast. Now we see that the line that the hour hand creates is aligned with that arm of the protractor, and we can do an accurate reading now because it is properly aligned. By using the scale of the protractor, we can measure the angle that the hour hand and the minute hand make at 8 o'clock by using the protractor scale. We measure and we see that at 8 o'clock the hands of the clock create an angle that measures 120 degrees. If I want to check and see if I'm right, I can click the Angle button and I see that yes, at 8 o'clock the hour hand and the minute hand of the angle made by those hands measure 120 degrees. The interactive on the worksheet is much smaller. If you need a larger interactive, One is provided under the worksheet link in Brightspace.